Ma'am, please don't touch my hair. The boy's voice trembled, thin but clear above the boarding gate noise. Sit still, the flight attendant said, scissors glinting under the fluorescent lights. This is policy. Gate C-12 at Dallas-Fort Worth International was loud with rolling suitcases, crackling announcements, and the summer storm hammering the windows. But in the center of it all stood 16-year-old Jaden Cole, eyes wide, fingers clutching the armrest of the wheelchair he'd borrowed when his asthma flared minutes earlier. His braids, neat, long, carefully done by his mother that very morning, hung past his shoulders like a story only he could carry. Passengers slowed. Some stared. One woman lifted her phone hesitantly. The security radio buzzed. The attendant, Ms. Harper, kneeling beside Jaden, looked around as though expecting applause for solving a problem no one else could see. This can't go on the plane, she said, lifting a braid, measuring it like something to be trimmed from a plant. It's a safety risk. Jaden tried again, voice cracking. My dad's coming. He's parking the car. Can you wait? Snip. A single braid fell, soft as feathers, landing against Jaden's jeans. His breath hitched. The world blurred. The boarding line froze. A river stopped by a stone no one understood until it was too late. A man in a navy blazer stepped forward. Ma'am, that seems excessive. Let him call someone. Another boy, not much older, whispered to his mother. Why is she cutting his hair? No answer came, only the hum of the air conditioning and the slow tightening of every throat in earshot. Harper moved for the next braid. Jaden squeezed his phone with shaking hands, screen smeared with tears and airport dust. One tap opened his father's contact. One breath steadied his heart. Dad, he whispered when the call connected. Come now. Please. Static. Then a voice, steady, low, controlled like the calm before a storm. Jaden, don't let her touch you again. I'm walking in. Passengers shifted, eyes darting from boy to scissors to the arrival doors where someone unseen was coming fast. The storm outside cracked like a warning. Harper hesitated, hand hovering over Jaden's shoulder. Down the terminal, footsteps echoed. Enjoying this? Tap subscribe for tomorrow's story. By the time Marcus Cole reached the parking garage exit, his phone was already ringing again. He balanced his garment bag on one shoulder, blazer folded over his arm, the faint smell of jet fuel drifting in from the runways. The call Idaho flashed. Jaden, 16. He smiled automatically. Big man's first solo flight, he muttered, stepping into the elevator. He swiped an answer. You through security already, champ? On the other end, the noise was harsher, voices, overhead announcements, the hiss of the air system, and something else. Breathing. Sharp, shaky breathing. Dad, Jaden whispered. She cut my hair. Marcus stopped walking. The automatic doors hissed open to the humid Texas air, but he didn't step through. What do you mean, son? His tone stayed level, but his hand tightened around the phone. Who touched you? The flight attendant, Jaden said. She said my braids were a safety problem. She has scissors. Marcus closed his eyes for half a second, forcing his voice to stay calm. Listen carefully, he said. Where are you standing right now? Gate C-12, Jaden replied. They put me in a wheelchair. My chest got tight. I asked her not to touch me. She did anyway. Marcus inhaled slowly, the way he taught Jaden to when his lungs fought him. Okay, I'm almost inside. Do not argue with anyone. Don't sign anything. Keep your phone on. I'm coming. He ended the call, shoved the blazer into his bag, and strode toward the terminal entrance. Just 6 hours earlier, that same morning, the world had felt soft and ordinary. In their small house in Arlington, Texas, sunlight had spilled across the kitchen table. Jaden sat with his back straight, scrolling through photos of the STEM summer program in Seattle he'd been accepted to, his first big win since his asthma diagnosis had sidelined basketball. His mother, Danielle, stood behind him, gently working coconut oil through his hair, dividing it into sections with practiced fingers. You'll be the only kid from your school there, she said. They'll remember you, Jay. Because of my brains, he grinned. And because of these braids. She tapped his shoulder with a comb. Because you belong there. Marcus had walked in with a travel mug and his laptop bag. Ty already nodded, earpiece blinking. He'd kissed Danielle's cheek, then ruffled the ends of Jaden's plaits. You sure you don't want to cut them shorter for the trip? He teased. Less maintenance. Jaden shook his head. These are me, Dad. Marcus had shrugged, smiling. Then you show them exactly who you are. On the kitchen counter, his work phone buzzed with an email notification. Subject: Final review. Airline credit facility. $900 million. He had glanced at it, then at his son, and chosen the boys' first flight over the video meeting. The deal could be finalized from the airport. Family first, he told his assistant. Now, as he moved through the sliding doors of Dallas-Fort Worth International, that line returned like a vow. Back at gate C-12, the air felt different. People weren't just waiting anymore. They were watching. A retired teacher named Evelyn Price stood near the window, phone raised at chest level, recording with a shaking hand. A businessman had his lips pressed in a hard line, boarding pass crumpled. A young mother whispered, "Don't look, sweetie," to her daughter, but looked anyway. Jaden sat small in the wheelchair, shoulders hunched. One side of his head looked uneven, where the scissors had already done their damage. A single braid lay on the floor like a quiet accusation. Marcus spotted his son from halfway down the concourse. He did not run, but every step was precise, measured. Years in conference rooms had taught him that the most dangerous man was the one who did not raise his voice. At the podium, Harper glanced up, saw him approaching, and straightened. Her hand still held the scissors. The gate agent murmured, "Sir, you can't be passed." Marcus lifted his boarding pass and ID without looking at them, eyes locked on Jaden. "I'm his father," he said. Each word landed carefully. "And someone here owes my son an explanation." Jaden turned, eyes wet, chin trembling. "Dad." Marcus stepped between his son and the scissors, close enough to see the smudge of hair already on the blades. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "step away from my child." The hum of the terminal seemed to dim, every witness holding their breath, phones hovering just above waist level like uncertain shields. Harper hesitated, jaw tightening. Somewhere behind the podium, radio crackled to life. Security arrived first. Two airport safety officers, Ramirez and Dorsey, stepped through the cluster of passengers, palms open to show calm. Their uniforms looked ordinary, navy shirts, metal badges, radios clipped, but the tension in the air sharpened every detail. Marcus spoke before they could. "My son was touched without consent. His property was destroyed. I want her away from him." Officer Ramirez glanced at Jaden, then at the uneven hair, then at the single braid resting on the floor. His expression shifted, sympathy, unease, procedure fighting instinct. Harper held her ground. The length of his hair could interfere with emergency oxygen masks. "I acted for safety. It's within flight appearance standards." Marcus's voice stayed even. "Show me the written policy." Harper blinked. "I don't have it on hand." "Then you had no authority," Marcus replied. Passengers murmured. Someone stepped closer. A phone lifted higher. Officer Dorsey cleared his throat. "Sir, we just need everyone to stay calm." Marcus nodded. "Calm is easy. Correct is harder." 3 hours earlier, Marcus and Jaden had been laughing in the check-in line. Jaden stumbling through a story about a robotics demo gone wrong, Marcus coaching him on how to introduce himself to strangers. "You walk up confident," Marcus said, straightening Jaden's collar. Eye contact, clear voice. "Respect earns respect." Jaden had repeated it playfully. "Respect earns respect." They passed TSA with no issues. Jaden's inhaler was logged. His backpack was light, laptop, notebook, a family photo in the front sleeve. At the gate, they sat together until Marcus left to park the car and review one last document for work. 40 minutes, Marcus had said. "You'll board right as I get back." Jaden had nodded, speaking through the hum of the air vents. "I'll be fine, Dad." He believed it. Now, in gate C-12, that belief felt thin as a thread. Officer Ramirez stepped to Harper. "Did you ask permission before cutting his hair?" Harper stiffened. He was non-compliant. "We're trained to manage obstructions. Appearance falls under safety protocol." Marcus leaned forward, eyes steady. "Appearance is not obstruction." A woman wearing a green cardigan approached. Her voice shook. "I filmed the moment she cut it. I didn't know if I should interfere." I'm sorry." She held out her phone screen. Ramirez studied the video. Jaden pleading, Harper cutting, no clear danger visible. Ramirez's jaw set. "Sir," he said to Marcus, "we may need a supervisor." "You'll have one," Marcus answered. And I want incident documentation started now. A man in a gray suit approached quickly, lanyard swinging at his hip. Terminal Operations Manager, Alan Whitaker. He surveyed the scene with practiced neutrality, but when his eyes landed on Jaden's half-cut braids, something flickered. Ms. Harper, Whitaker said, escort yourself to the staff room. I will handle this. Harper opened her mouth, then thought better of it. Without another word, she handed the scissors to the podium agent and walked away, shoes clicking sharp against the tile. But no one exhaled, not yet. Whitaker turned to Marcus. Sir, I am deeply sorry. We'll file a full report. We can arrange compensation and a later flight. Marcus didn't respond immediately. He rested a hand on Jaden's shoulder instead, steady, warm, grounding. Jaden whispered, Dad, I don't want to miss the program. We won't, Marcus said. Whitaker held his clipboard uncertainly. It may take time to resolve. Marcus's gaze sharpened, just slightly. Time is not the issue. He reached into his bag, pulled out a thin folder, paperwork he'd meant to review in the car. Whitaker's eyes slid to the header stamped across the top. Proposed financial facility, corporate aviation group, $900 million. A beat of silence. A subtle shift in posture. 2 or 3 passengers exchanged glances, sensing something beginning, quiet but unstoppable. Whitaker swallowed. Sir, you're involved with that? Marcus didn't answer. Yet. He closed the folder slowly, like a door before the wind pushes it wide. Phones were still recording. Witnesses still watching. Something larger than an incident report was forming in the air around them. And the next move would decide everything. Whitaker's eyes lingered on the folder again, as if the ink itself carried weight. Passengers leaned in without moving, the way people do when history might be happening, and they're not sure yet if they're witnesses or participants. The storm outside battered the windows with dull, rhythmic force. In its echo, Gate C-12 felt like the center of something tightening. Mr. Cole, Whitaker said carefully, I'd like to escort you and your son to a private office. We can resolve this quietly. Marcus shook his head. No raised voice. No pointed finger. Just steady refusal. Respectfully, Director Whitaker, he said. This happened here. In public. My son deserves correction in the same light where he was hurt. Jaden stared at the single braid on the floor. Marcus gently nudged it with the side of his shoe, sliding it closer to his son. He didn't pick it up yet, ritual, not haste. Officer Ramirez shifted his weight. Sir, if you want to file a report, we can start right now. Whitaker hesitated. Before any report, I need to understand the situation from staff. Protocol. Marcus opened the folder. Not wide, just enough for Whitaker to see the cover page details again. Partnership Financing Proposal Corporate Aviation Group. Pending approval, Whitaker's pupils tightened. I need nothing special, Marcus said. Only acknowledgement that what happened should never have happened. Jaden breathed slowly, like Marcus taught him through rough nights. The wheelchair's rubber wheels squeaked faintly beneath his hands. A few passengers knelt near him, not touching, just close enough to show he wasn't alone. Then a voice rose from the back. Hair isn't a safety risk. Everyone turned. A middle-aged man with a salt and pepper beard stepped forward. He wore a Navy veteran's cap, posture crisp and sure. I flew transport for 8 years, he said. I've seen long hair, short hair, no hair. Masks adapt. Helmets adapt. Policy does too. What she did was personal, not procedural. Another woman spoke. I'm a retired nurse. This boy is already struggling to breathe. Cutting his hair only distressed him further. A ripple passed through the crowd, agreement, conscience waking, people deciding where they stood. Whitaker cleared his throat, but his voice no longer carried authority. Not fully. We will place Ms. Harper on administrative hold pending review, he said slowly. And we will replace your son's ticket with priority boarding on the next flight. He can travel today with no further delay. Jaden looked up, hope flickering. Marcus stayed still. That's a start. Sir, Whitaker continued, we can also provide reimbursement for. I'm not asking for money. Marcus's voice softened. Only that my son is treated as a passenger, not a threat. The gate fell silent again. Then softly, so softly Jaden almost missed it, Whitaker said, You have my word. Jaden's shoulders loosened slightly. Ramirez nodded. Dorsey relaxed his stance, and several passengers lowered their phones, not because the moment was over, but because they wanted to remember it fully. But the scissors still lay on the counter, and the braids still lay on the floor. Two pieces of the same story, untouched. Marcus knelt beside his son. "We'll get through this," he whispered. Jaden blinked. "Dad, can I still board?" "You will," Marcus replied. "And they will know your name for the right reasons." A shadow moved at the far end of the concourse, an airport administrator in a darker suit, walking toward them fast, eyes narrowed. Whitaker noticed. His face changed. This wasn't over. The administrator's badge caught the harsh white lights as he approached. Harold Brenner, Airport Compliance Division. A title built for moments like this. Whitaker straightened instinctively. Ramirez and Dorsey stepped aside. Jaden gripped the wheelchair arms, the plastic warm beneath his palms. Brenner stopped a foot from Marcus, measured, unsmiling. "I've reviewed the supervisor alert," he said. "We have a report of a disruptive minor and an intervention by crew." Murders of whispers circled the gate, uncomfortable, disbelieving. Marcus didn't flinch. There was no disruption. "My son asked not to be touched." That request was ignored. Brenner folded his hands behind his back, a posture that signaled authority more than listening. "Our priority is passenger safety," he recited. "Crew may act preemptively if a tire or hair poses obstruction risk during emergency procedures." Ramirez stepped forward, brave, quiet. "Sir, we reviewed footage. There was no safety threat." Brenner didn't look at him. His gaze stayed locked on Marcus. "This can be mediated internally. A private resolution is recommended." Marcus held the folder loosely now, like it weighed nothing at all. "My son does not disappear into back rooms," he said, "and the truth does not shrink behind closed doors." Jaden exhaled, soft, shaky. Marcus rested a hand on his shoulder. The gesture was simple, father to son, but it felt like the room shifted around it. Passengers, emboldened, drew closer. Evelyn, the retired teacher, stepped nearer. "We all saw what happened." "We heard him say no." The veteran in the Navy cap added, "You can call it protocol. We call it wrong." Brenner's jaw tightened. "Ladies and gentlemen, please refrain from interfering. This situation is being handled." But no one stepped back. The young mother with her daughter raised her phone higher. "Handled doesn't mean hidden." A businessman near the windows spoke next. "Your staff cut that boy's hair publicly. You can respond publicly." The circle was closing, not around Marcus, but around Jaden, protection forming like a wall of ordinary people who'd seen enough. Brenner's voice sharpened. "If the family refuses private mediation, we may need to delay this flight pending review." Whitaker flinched. He understood the consequences. Delays at DFW ripple like storms across the country. Jaden's breath caught. Missing Seattle meant losing the program. Losing the program meant the opportunity he dreamed of. Marcus saw it too. He knelt again, this time eye level. "Jay," he said gently, "tell me what you want." Jaden swallowed. His voice was small, but steady. "I want to fly today. I want him to say what happened was wrong. Not quietly. Not backstage." The administrator looked between father and son, two unyielding points. One young, wounded but rooted. One calm as stone, holding something Brenner hadn't yet understood. Yet, Marcus closed the folder, slipped it into his bag. The name on the header flashed once more before disappearing. Corporate Aviation Group, pending approval, $900 million credit line. A line Whitaker had recognized. A line Brenner had not. Not yet. Ramirez spoke softly into his radio. "Supervisor escalation. Category 3, civil and discrimination concern." His voice was calm, but there was iron in it. Brenner took a step toward the radio. "Officer, hold that transmission." Ramirez didn't move. Whitaker looked at Marcus, searching, calculating, realizing the scale of what was quietly unraveling. Because sometimes power isn't loud. Sometimes it sits in an airport terminal with paperwork nobody thought to question. And Brenner had just walked into the middle of it. Brenner finally noticed the folder in Marcus's hand, not the paper itself, but the way others reacted to it. Whitaker's subtle tension. Ramirez's caution. Phones capturing angles he couldn't control. He reached for authority the way a man grabs a railing on a sinking stair. "Mr. Cole," he said, tone firming, "your son can fly today, but only if this incident is formally closed. We cannot risk escalation." Marcus's reply was gentle. Too gentle. "You believe escalation is my goal?" Brenner blinked. "Is it not?" Marcus straightened. He looked neither angry nor desperate, only deliberate, as if every word had already been chosen. "I came here today only as a father," he said. "I wanted my son to board his first flight without me shadowing him. I trusted your people. I trusted your system." Jaden bowed his head, breathing slow through the weight of attention. Marcus continued, voice calm as a sealed vault. "But I am also Marcus L. Cole, Senior Risk Director for Tri-Summit Capital, overseeing aviation credit expansion for corporate fleets." He slid the folder halfway open. Whitaker stiffened like a struck wire. Brenner tried to hide confusion. "Tri-Summit?" "Tri-Summit supplies your airline's revolving credit," Marcus explained, still soft, still deadly polite. 900 million. Capital under review this fiscal quarter. A slow wave rolled through the gate. No shouting. No guess. Just silence deep enough to hear Jaden's next inhale. Whitaker stepped forward quickly, voice cracking around the words. "Mr. Cole, Marcus, I was not aware." "That was the point," Marcus replied. "My son should matter because he is a person, not because of who his father is." Brenner's mask slipped, surprise, then fear, then calculation. We can initiate full redress," he stammered. "Formal apology. Staff review. Written acknowledgement of misconduct." Jaden looked up fast, eyes shining, not with victory, but with disbelief. Ramirez, who had said little, nodded once. "That sounds right." Whitaker cleared his throat, posture shifting from defense to obedience. "We can issue the apology now. Verbally. Publicly." Passengers drew closer, forming a semicircle. Not mob, not menace, just witness. Harper, the flight attendant, was summoned by radio. She approached with tight shoulders, eyes down. For a moment, Jaden saw fear in her expression, not of punishment, but of reflection, of facing what she'd done. Brenner gestured stiffly. "Ms. Harper, you will address the incident." She looked at Jaden, and for the first time her voice was different. Not clipped, not managerial. Human. "I made a judgment I had no right to make," she said. "I misused authority. I should have listened." Jaden stared at the uneven strands framing his face. "You cut something that mattered to me." Harper nodded, throat working. "And I cannot put it back. But I am sorry. Truly." Passengers held still. No applause, no jeers. Only the quiet weight of accountability. Marcus rested a gentle hand on Jaden's back. "That," he whispered, "is what dignity sounds like." But the twist hadn't finished turning. Whitaker exhaled, relief showing. "We'll board your flight immediately. Priority seats. Full escort." Marcus shook his head once. "We will board," he said, "but not without a record. I want this documented, written, and filed. Training reviewed. Policy clarified." And Jaden's braid returned to him respectfully. Not swept away. Brenner swallowed. "We can do that." Jaden's fingers brushed the fallen braid. Slow. Reverent. He lifted it like reclaimed history. Power had shifted, and no one raised a voice. It happened like the cutting did, in full view. But the consequences were only beginning. Brenner nodded stiffly, but Marcus wasn't finished. The apology mattered, but repair required more than words. The folder, now closed, sat beneath Marcus's hand like a quiet key. A ringtone cut through the stillness, Marcus's work phone. He almost ignored it. Almost. But the caller ID froze Brenner in place. Tri-Summit Capital, Executive Board. Marcus answered, voice low. "Cole." A woman's voice came through, crisp as glass. "Status update on the aviation review. We need your recommendation within the hour." Whitaker and Brenner exchanged a glance. 1 hour. Marcus turned slightly so Jaden could hear. "I'm on site at DFW. I've observed crew conduct personally. The matter is illustrative." Jaden watched his father's face come sure, but with something new beneath it. Resolve turning into direction. The board member continued, tone unreadable. Then your judgment stands. Formal recommendation expected before market close. The line clicked dead. And suddenly, everyone in Gate C12 understood. This wasn't just an incident. This was the hinge on which $900 million could turn. Marcus slipped the phone away. Director Brenner, this airport values efficiency. Accountability is efficiency. Respect is efficiency. If this airline builds policy that protects passenger dignity, not erases it, I will recommend confidence. Brenner swallowed. And if we fail to? Marcus's answer came like gravity. Then I cannot support expansion. The tremor in the gate wasn't anger, it was awareness. The kind that changes rooms forever. Harper stepped forward, voice fragile. Mr. Cole. Jaden, may I return what I took? She lifted the small braid, placed gently in a clear evidence pouch Ramirez had offered. Not thrown. Not dismissed. Preserved. Jaden accepted it with both hands, as if weight mattered. Thank you, he whispered. It wasn't forgiveness, it was recognition. The first brick in a bridge only time could finish. But the twist deepened. Whitaker straightened, suddenly purposeful. Mr. Cole, we'd like to invite Jaden to speak at our staff training review. Passenger experience. Consent. Respect. If he's willing. Brenner nodded, slower but sincere. His perspective could guide real reform. Jaden blinked, stunned. Me. Marcus looked at his son. Pride quiet, not boastful. Only if you want to, Jay. The boy who had trembled beneath scissors now lifted his chin. I'll do it, Jaden said. Not to shame anyone. To help the next kid board safely. The passengers broke into soft applause, not loud, not triumphant, but warm. A circle of adults witnessing a boy reclaim his sky. The gate agent, teary-eyed, stepped to the intercom. Pre-boarding for Flight 482 to Seattle. Priority passenger, Jaden Cole and family. Marcus exhaled. The storm outside eased, rain thinning against the windows like a curtain lifting. But before they moved, he turned once more to Brenner. I will submit my recommendation after Seattle. I expect documentation of training reforms within 30 days. Brenner nodded sharply. No argument left. You'll have it. Marcus placed the preserved braid gently into Jaden's backpack. A symbol heard, but not defeated. A story cut, but not ended. And father and son wheeled toward the jet bridge. Together this time, not apart. Yet the world beyond that gate was watching. And consequences travel farther than planes. Seattle looked nothing like Texas. When Jaden stepped out of the airport 2 days later, the air was cool, scented with pine and ocean salt. Mountains framed the horizon like folded blue wings. His braids, uneven but intact, moved in the wind like stubborn roots refusing to let go. The STEM campus buzzed with energy. Students rolled suitcases across brick pathways, checking schedules, comparing dorm keys. Jaden blended among them, but his story sat close. A reminder, not a wound. Each morning he joined workshops and coding labs, fingers quick on the keyboard. Each night he video called his parents, the braid in its pouch beside his laptop like a quiet witness. He focused. He thrived. But DFW did not forget him. 10 days after the incident, Marcus received the first email. From Harold Brenner, subject, Draft Policy Revision, Passenger Consent Protocol. Clear language. Mandatory training. Written consent for personal contact unless medical emergency. Cultural awareness modules. Complaint escalation streamlined. Marcus read it twice, slow. He forwarded it with a single line to the Tri-Summit board. Progress noted. Continuing review. His recommendation remained pending, but not withheld. Guided. Measured. In Dallas, Whitaker oversaw the first training session. Harper attended, shoulders straighter, questions thoughtful. Evelyn, the retired teacher, submitted her recording voluntarily to support policy change. Ramirez filed his incident report with clarity, naming what he saw without bitterness. And quietly, the wheel turned. One evening in Seattle, Jaden stood outside the dorm common room, waiting for his turn to present a robotics demonstration. The Braids pouch rested in his pocket. A boy with freckles and headphones approached. Cool hair, he said, simple and real. Jaden smiled. Thanks. Means a lot. It landed more gently than any apology. But fallout isn't only change. It's reflection. During his presentation, Jaden spoke not just about code but resilience. His voice steady, paced, learned from breathing through pain. Systems are built by people, he said, and people can rebuild them. The room listened, not because he demanded attention, but because he had earned it. A professor asked to share his presentation at a campus leadership seminar. Jaden agreed with the same words he'd used in Dallas. Only if it helps someone else. 30 days after the flight, a document arrived in Marcus's inbox. Implementation completed. Passenger dignity protocol signed by Brenner. Signed by Whitaker. Rolled out across 3 regional hubs, expanding to all routes within 90 days. Marcus forwarded his recommendation to the board, clear and final. Approval granted, confidence sustained. The $900 million facility moved forward, not as leverage, but as proof that respect can scale. That a boy asking not to be touched could shift an entire system if someone listened. Marcus closed his laptop. He looked at a framed photograph on his desk. Jaden laughing beneath a Washington sky, sunlight catching the uneven braids he still wore with pride. Fallout didn't break them. It reshaped them. But there was one moment left, one more return, quiet and overdue. A reunion at Gate C-12. 3 weeks later, Jaden rolled his suitcase across the familiar tile of Dallas-Fort Worth International. Same terminal. Same concourse. Same humming vents and polished floors reflecting 1,000 hurried mornings. But something was different. This time, he walked tall. Not in a wheelchair. Not alone. Marcus walked beside him, calm as ever, a hand occasionally brushing his shoulder, not guiding, just present. The preserved braid rested in Jaden's backpack, tucked between his robotics notes and a program certificate signed by his instructors. Gate C-12 waited ahead. Jaden slowed. The space held memory like dust and sunlight, sharp, hovering. For a moment he felt that first cut again, the shock of scissors, the breath he couldn't catch. Marcus noticed. "We can leave if you want." Jaden shook his head. "No, I want to see who I am here now." A voice called from the counter. Jaden Cole. He turned. Whitaker stood there, not stiff, not rehearsed, just human. His tie slightly crooked, expression gentler than before. "We hoped you might come by," Whitaker said. "Training's underway." New signage posted. "Consent procedures live-in system." And he paused, choosing words with care. "We wanted you to see it first." He gestured to a small digital panel near the boarding lane. "Passenger respect policy. No physical contact without consent. All cultures welcome. Report concerns immediately." Jaden stared at the words. Not long, not poetic, but true. Harper appeared next. Nervous but present. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said softly. "But I wanted to tell you, I'm teaching a new training module. I share what happened. What I learned. I don't hide from it." Jaden reached into his backpack, pulled out the plastic pouch, held the braid in both hands. "My hair grew back uneven," he said. "But I kept this. Not to stay angry. To remember what changed." Harper nodded. Something in her posture eased, like a door unlatched. Passengers nearby paused, not intruding, just witnessing again. The hum of the gate felt warmer, lighter, like the terminal itself exhaled. Marcus placed a hand over Jaden's steady. "You turned hurt into something bigger than either of us imagined." Jaden smiled, not wide but real. "We both did." And for the first time at Gate C-12, Jaden didn't feel like something was taken. He felt like something was built. A gate agent stepped forward. "Next flight to Seattle, boarding soon. You two traveling today." Marcus shook his head. "Not this time. We came to close a chapter." Jaden slipped the braid back into his backpack, carefully, like placing a lesson on a shelf. Father and son turned from the gate together, walking toward the exit beneath soft airport light. No applause followed, no cameras, no crisis. Just dignity, just movement forward. Autumn settled gently over Arlington, Texas. Leaves turned copper along the sidewalks, and the heat broke into crisp mornings that smelled like coffee and cut grass. In the Cole household, life found a new rhythm. Jaden sat at his desk, laptop open, braids longer now, still uneven at the ends, but growing stronger. The preserved braid rested beside his keyboard. Not framed, not hidden. A reminder, tender but firm. He typed steadily, an email, nothing dramatic. Thank you for attending the training. I hope my experience helps young travelers feel safe, seen, and respected. Jaden. Because now, every 3 months, Jaden spoke via video to new flight staff. Not as a victim, as a voice. A lesson learned and shared. Crew asked questions, real ones. He answered thoughtfully, calmly, never with bitterness. Marcus watched from the doorway sometimes, coffee in hand, quiet pride in his eyes. Tri-Summit's credit facility went through without friction. Brenner sent reports on schedule. Whitaker updated Marcus personally. Smaller incidents resolved early. Passengers handled with care. Change wasn't loud. It was consistent. One Saturday, Danielle called Jaden into the living room. Look. On the TV, a morning news segment highlighted new passenger dignity protocols across several major airlines. Training focused on consent, respect, and cultural understanding. Jaden's story wasn't named, but the purpose was clear in every sentence spoken. Marcus placed a hand on his son's shoulder. A ripple, he said. Small, then wide. Jaden nodded slowly. I only wanted to fly. And now others will fly safer, because you spoke, Marcus replied. Later that afternoon, Jaden walked to the backyard with scissors, not sharp and cold like before, but gentle, familiar. Marcus joined him, no explanation needed. The sun hung low, warm and gold. Jaden lifted one braid, longer now grown past pain. Just a trim, he said. Marcus snipped carefully. A deliberate cut, a soft one. Jaden smiled. His hair fell into his palm, not stolen this time, but chosen. He tied the new piece with the old braid in a small box on his shelf. 2 pieces. One past, one present. He placed the lid on top with quiet ceremony. Inside the house, dinner simmered. Laughter drifted from the kitchen. And life, steady, hopeful, moved forward. Jaden stepped inside, shoulders relaxed, breathing deep and easy. He hadn't just boarded a plane. He had changed the route for those who would board after him. Andy, thanks for watching.